for Lakeland.
After 9 years, the NDP Liberals are not worth the cost to Canada. The worst decline in living standards in 4 decades, the worst drop in income per person in the G7, the worst economic growth in the OECD. What's their WACKO plan now? Slap a job-killing oil and gas cap on Canada, make everything even more expensive, and drive out jobs, businesses, money, tech, and talent. Over 450 billion Canadian dollars have fled Canada, fled them to the U.S. When will the Liberals stop fueling the U.S. and help Canadians instead?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Thanks very much, Madam Speaker. Let's talk about GDP per capita over time in Canada. Between 2006 and 2016, Canada's GDP per capita under Harper grew from $40,504 to $42,134. That's about $1,800 over 10 years. Under this Liberal government, it's grown from $42,000 a year to $53,372 in 2023. That's by more than $11,000. So Conservatives, you don't need to pull out your calculators. $11,000 is more than $1,800.
The honourable member for Lakeland.
Keep telling Canadians they've never had it so good. The truth is these NDP Liberals hurt Canadians every time, but help the U.S. and hostile regimes. It's nuts since so many countries want Canada's energy. Ukraine, Germany, Poland, Japan, South Korea, Greece, and Latvia all ask for LNG, but these NDP Liberals say no. 1 million Canadians need powerful paychecks from oil and gas jobs, but 9 years of killed pipelines, energy tax hikes, and oil and gas cap sends jobs and monies to the U.S., Canada's top ally and competitor. Why do the NDP Liberals send Canada's jobs to the U.S. and make Canadian workers suffer?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We're working on the challenges that Canadians face with real solutions. At that time, inflation is down, interest rates are down, unemployment rates are down, and greenhouse gas pollution rates are down as well. And despite what these climate change denying Conservatives say, CO2 isn't plant food. That absurd Conservative claim that reducing our carbon emissions would somehow be bad for crop growth is straight up anti-science, disinformation, and climate denialism. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. We learned that in elementary school. The oil sands are Canada's largest source of industrial carbon emissions, and our pollution cap asks them to invest some of their astonishing $60 billion in profits in innovating and making sure that Canadians can afford green, affordable.
The honourable member Calgary Centre.
After 9 years, this NDP Liberal government has shown again they are not worth the cost. This week, the government announced a new policy, a cap on the Canadian economy. Since 2015, the United States has increased oil and gas production by 40%, much more than Canada. The world needs Canadian oil and gas. With the incoming U.S. administration promising to unleash American energy, this government has announced a cap on the economy, costing Canada 150,000 jobs. How can they justify this economic vandalism?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Transport.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The pollution cap will ensure our energy sector can increase its production while decreasing its emissions. Countries around the world are looking at Canada for less polluting energy. If we want our energy to stay competitive, we must lower our emissions. The pollution cap will provide long-term competitiveness in Canadian energy, so we can keep being an energy superpower for the world. Under the do-nothing approach that the previous Conservative government approached, Canada's imports of foreign oil were 2 times higher. They failed to promote Canadian energy. Madam Speaker, I would be happy to offer the Conservative leader and his party a briefing on this climate change.
The honourable member Calgary Centre.
Well, let me quote Canada's destructive environment minister. Look around the world. No other oil and gas producer is doing what we're doing. And one could wonder why. Or why he ignored the warnings of the economic destruction his Canadian energy cap would cause when it offers no environmental benefit. Any reduction in Canada will automatically be met by other producers around the world. The minister's announcement is nothing but performative. Will the Prime Minister get serious about actual solutions and fire this environment minister?
L'honorable Secrétaire parlementaire.
Madam Speaker, it's no wonder that the Conservatives aren't talking about the economy today. It's because yesterday Statistics Canada raised their numbers. In fact, they revised growth in Canada upwards. And you know why? Madam Speaker, it's because business investment is streaming into Canada. Investors are looking to Canada because we offer stability and certainty, and that's translating into growth and into higher paychecks for Canadians.
The honourable for Northumberland, Peterborough South.
Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister was so excited about the new U.S. President that he sent him a gift. thousands of Canadian jobs, millions of Canadian investment dollars. This Liberal government's carbon tax and failure to stand up for Canada has created an exodus of capital from Canada to the United States. This Prime Minister's policy has created a made-in-Canada per capita Canada GDP recession. While American workers are thriving, Canadians can barely afford food and rent. Will this Prime Minister stop sabotaging the Canadian economies and axe this self-imposed tariff?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry.
Conservatives seem so intent, Madam Speaker, on talking down the Canadian economy. They don't seem to be able to recognize the positive signs of economic progress and recovery. Inflation is down to 1.6% in Canada. Our central bank has decreased interest rates 4 times. We've attracted over $50 billion in foreign direct investment, propelling us to #1 per capita in the G20. That's led to tens of thousands of good-paying jobs in this country. Jobs that are projected to grow in the clean economy to over 400,000 by 2030. Those are real opportunities that pay the bills, unlike Conservative cuts.
The Honourable Member for Northumberland, Peterborough South.
Madam Speaker, these Liberals keep telling Canadians at food banks they've never had it so good. Well, here's the facts. The Economist magazine says that Canada is now poorer than Alabama, the 4th poorest state in the United States. Further, over the past 5 years, America's economic growth has outstripped Canada's by nearly double. Simple question. When will Canadians get an opportunity to vote for common sense Conservatives so that we can turn their hurt into hope and restore the promise of Canada?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Madam Speaker, we responded to the needs of Canadians. That's why we brought in programs like the Canada Child Benefit, because we know that Canadian families need extra help right now. But what did the Conservatives do, Madam Speaker? They said, don't send those checks to Canadians. They said, cut those programs, Madam Speaker. When they talk about their crocodile tears for Canadians, they're not actually doing anything to help. Madam Speaker, we know Canadians are struggling, and that's why we've responded with programs that actually help them. Thank you, Madam Speaker.